I filed for divorce. A poor wife is useless after all. My husband suddenly shocked me with these words. Moreover, while I was away on a business trip, not only did he file for divorce, but he also married his lover. Furthermore, my husband said, "You, a poor person, married me for my wealth, right? I won't fall for that, so give up any claim to the property." As if I married him for his money. When I confronted my indifferent husband, who had always treated me like a poor person and scorned me since our marriage, he started to unravel. Ultimately, he spiraled down to rock bottom. My name is Karen, 35 years old. My father passed away when I was in kindergarten, and since then, my mother raised me and my sister by herself. I was grateful to my mother, but deep down, I always wished I had a father. Of course, I didn't necessarily want a new father, but I always dreamed of living happily ever after with my husband, surrounded by children, though I didn't know how many we have. Life on just my mother's earnings was far from wealthy, but we were happy as a family of 3. However, the poverty I grew up with never left me, even after I started working and earning a decent salary. Even when I was single, my grocery shopping at the supermarket centered around discounted items, and I would stock up during sales if the items wouldn't go bad. Eating out was out of the question, and for meals alone, I wouldn't even buy convenience store bento. For drinks, I would bring tea in a thermos. Before I knew it, saving money had become like a hobby of mine. I married my husband John 4 years ago. We met through an acquaintance and hit it off. Unlike me, who grew up poor, John was wealthy from a young age, and our views on money and values were completely different. However, I was drawn to his kindness and the new world he showed me. We started dating soon after meeting, and as I was over 30 and eager to get married, we tied the knot in less than a year. We decided to move into my apartment, which was close to both our places. It was a company-subsidized apartment, so the rent was quite cheap, one of the reasons we chose it as our new home. After marriage, I continued paying the rent, and John contributed to other living expenses. This was how our married life began. John had a somewhat traditional view of gender roles, believing women should quit their jobs and take care of the home after marriage, and that men should support women while women managed the household. I found these views of his cool and masculine at the time. Before our marriage, he suggested I become a homemaker, saying he would support me. He probably thought of me as a domestic woman, good at cooking and cleaning, which made me happy at that moment. However, I loved my job and had important responsibilities at work. I didn't hate household chores, but being a full-time homemaker wasn't an option for me. If I quit my job and became a homemaker, we would have to leave this apartment as its company subsidized. Moving to a similar apartment would significantly increase our rent and moving costs. Honestly, John's salary wasn't that high. If we had children, our financial needs would increase, and I would inevitably need to keep working. Thinking about our situation, I decided to earn as much as I could while I could. And since I was paying the rent, I felt I needed to continue earning. I subtly brought up these points, including the need to move out of the apartment, in a conversation with my husband John. This was probably the first time I contradicted his opinions. "Hey, about you wanting me to be a homemaker. I'll take care of the house, but can I continue working until we have kids? I want to save as much money as we can for now." "Huh? Are you saying my salary isn't enough? Or do you just want more money to spend?" "It's not like that. Kids are expensive, and I want to save up for that. I can even use my earnings for our living expenses. It's better to have more money, right?" "Right. Your annual income is $115,000, right?" "It's not much, just enough for the rent, but it's better than nothing. It's better than lounging around at home." "All right, but don't slack off on the housework." $115,000? Yeah, but thank you. I'll keep working until we have kids, of course. I'll take care of the house too. Though I felt uneasy about some parts, I managed to convince him to let me keep working, but in hindsight, this might have upset him. Balancing work and household chores was harder than I expected. My days were incredibly busy. I was a full-time employee, not part-time. I woke up early to prepare breakfast, lunch boxes for both of us, and to do some prep for dinner and tidy up the house. When I got home, I prepared dinner, heated the bath, and did laundry after John went to sleep. Honestly, there was barely any time for us as a couple, and I began to wonder if this was really what a marriage should be like. On the other hand, John, who acted like a traditional husband, did absolutely nothing at home. He must have seen how busy I was with household chores, but he would just eat dinner, drink beer, and relax when he got home. He'd bathe alone as soon as it was ready, then go to his room. I wished he would help out a bit, given how hard I was working, but I couldn't say anything, fearing he'd tell me to just quit my job. Despite his lack of help at home, I naively hoped he would change once we had kids. However, our relationship had grown distant, making the prospect of having children unlikely. I decided to discuss it with John. Hey, we should start thinking about having kids, right? Huh, kids? You're quite energetic considering you're tired from work and chores. It's not about that. I want to have children. We haven't been married that long. Isn't it too early for kids? Maybe for you, but I'm already over 30. Women have a limited time to have children. It's getting harder to conceive as I get older. It's almost too late. Then we don't need kids. If we have one, you'll expect me to help, right? You know I'm busy with work. I won't help with child rearing. What? Declaring you won't help with child rearing even before they're born is strange, isn't it? I plan to raise them alone, but shouldn't you at least have the intention to help? It's your child too. Child rearing is your job. I'm working to support the family, so I definitely won't help with the kids. You'll just complain that I don't help and that you're doing it alone, making me the bad guy. You must have been indoctrinated with a poverty and lots of kids since birth. We're not poor. We don't need kids. End of discussion. John abruptly ended the conversation and went to his room. Standing alone in the living room, I was overwhelmed by tears. Not only was my wish for children rejected, but also my upbringing was mocked. Following this incident, our relationship deteriorated rapidly, and we hardly spoke anymore. There were no children and barely any communication. Maybe it was time to consider divorce. Yet a faint image of my once kind husband lingered in my mind, making me wish we could return to the happy couple we used to be. Since then, I tirelessly juggled work and home responsibilities. I was incredibly busy with various tasks. Eventually, I took on a significant project at work, which meant more business trips and further distance from John. One day, as usual, I told him about an upcoming business trip, but his reaction was unlike any other time. I'll be away on a business trip for about 10 days from tomorrow. Please take care. Another trip. You're always working hard. Take care, even though you must be tired. He unexpectedly said, unlike his usual mocking self. He even said with a smile, wait for a big surprise when you get back. I had given up on him and was resolved to a decision internally. However, his smile shook my resolve. Our wedding anniversary was approaching, and I thought maybe he had a surprise for that. Despite everything, I hoped he might have changed his heart. I even considered rethinking my stance if he had truly changed. However, my faint hope was shattered by a major incident when I returned home 10 days later. I faced the first surprise. The front door wouldn't open. The key didn't fit. As I struggled, John spoke from inside. Karen, right? Surprised? This is the first surprise. I changed the locks, so your key won't work anymore. What do you mean? Why doesn't my key work? Open the door. Why would I let a stranger into my house? I changed the locks. And for your information, we're divorced. That's the second surprise. A poor wife is useless. Divorce? I never signed any papers. How could you even do this? I just forged your signature. I submitted it with a friend's name as a witness. So, you're a stranger now. Got it? Now understood. Then we need to discuss property division, right? Right, property division. I have a document for you to sign, waiving your rights to property division. I thought you'd say, give me property division if you want a divorce. Poor people like you probably saw me as rich. You married me for my wealth, right? I won't fall for that. So, waive your rights to the property. What? I never even thought about property division. I hadn't even considered divorce. So, you'll also waive your rights to property division, right? How much property do you think a poor person like you has? A few thousand in savings at most. I don't need that. I have more assets. So, if anyone is doing the dividing, it would be me giving money to you, not the other way around. Don't you get it? Is that so? Well, that doesn't matter. Let's change the document to reflect mutual renunciation of property rights and make it a public document. I retorted stubbornly. Afterward, John redid the document on his computer, deciding to make it a public document. However, it would be some time before we could submit it. I decided to pack my things and leave the house for the moment. As I was leaving, he scorned me until the end. You are poor. I thought about throwing away your belongings while you were on your trip, but you barely had anything, always wearing the same clothes typical of the poor. The reason my belongings were few at that time was deliberate, part of my plan. The only unexpected thing was John changing the locks without my knowledge. A few days later, as expected, a panicked John called. Karen, what have you done? What do you mean? I haven't done anything. Why are you panicking? I have a lot of questions. First, I was told to leave the apartment. Oh, you were still living there. That's not allowed. It's a new month. You're trespassing. Trespassing? But it's my house. Are you okay? Did you forget that was a company apartment I rented? I was the leaseholder, so naturally, you can't live there anymore. That's ridiculous. How could you do this? I can't believe you didn't know. I'm not the one who should be accused of doing things on my own. Didn't I tell you that you can't just change the locks of a rental apartment? It's my house. I can change the locks if I want. Didn't you listen? It was my lease apartment. Even if you were the leaseholder, the owner is the apartment manager. You can't change the locks without informing them. Is that so? Also, I terminated the lease. While you changed the locks, I was allowed to live there until this month. I was planning to return, but now you've unlawfully altered someone else's property, which could be criminal damage. Wait, why did you terminate it so early? Criminal damage? Is that why the police are at the front door now? I'm too scared to open it. But I calmly replied, so the police did come. Don't worry, it's probably not for trespassing or criminal damage. It's better to talk to them. Why do I know about the police? Because I reported you for filing the divorce papers yourself. It seems like you've committed crimes like forgery and fraudulent use of a private document. Divorce papers can be filed by one person, but only with mutual agreement and personal signatures. Since John forged my signature and the witness, it's obvious that it's a crime. But he seemed unaware of his guilt. I continued pressing further. So, the divorce papers you submitted are invalid, and your marriage with Susan can't happen either. How do you know about Susan? Did you think I knew nothing? I had a private detective agency thoroughly investigate your affair with Susan. It was a busy time at work, and coordinating with the agency was tough. Plus, you even held a grand wedding ceremony while I was supposedly on a business trip. Are you okay? Your business trip was a lie. Yes, I took leave from work despite being busy to do some research and prepare documents. I knew about you bringing Susan home. It would have been impossible to gather this evidence while working. After I revealed everything, John was speechless and seemed quite downcast, even over the phone. Then he pleaded with me, "Please don't tell Susan. I'm divorced." Why would I? There's no such fact to tell. Really? Thank you. Are you misunderstanding something? When did you become divorced? That fake divorce paper is invalid, remember? So legally, you're still my husband, not divorced. What? So since you committed adultery, well, legally, my husband, Susan needs to pay compensation. I sent the demand for reparation to her house yesterday by express delivery. She didn't know you were married, right? Then I can't withdraw the claim at this point. I already knew Susan believed John was single, but I deliberately sent the reparation demand. Susan hasn't contacted me yet. So maybe she hasn't received the letter. It should arrive soon. Shouldn't you be on the phone with me when you also have to deal with the police? You're busy. I'll ignore the police. I won't be arrested. I'm going to Susan's house now to get the letter back before she or her family can accept it. He then hung up. He probably went straight to Susan's house to wait for the postman at the front door. I knew it would be futile because the letter was sent as registered mail to Susan only. A few hours later, a dispirited John called me. According to him, there was an incident when the postman arrived. Finally, I'll take that envelope. Who are you? You don't live here, right? I'm practically a resident here since I'm married. I have the right to receive the mail. I see, but I can't give you this envelope. It's registered mail for Susan only. What? Get it to me. Absolutely not. If you're so eager, ask Susan for permission. What's going on here? Oh, John, what's all this noise? What's happening? Ah, Susan, this is registered mail for you. This man insisted on taking it. Sorry for the disturbance. Now, I'll be on my way. What's this? A demand for reparation? John, you were married. What's going on here? Sorry, it's just, she's an ex-wife from a long time ago. I was embarrassed to say I'm divorced. I'm sorry for keeping it secret, but it's strange, isn't it? We haven't been dating long, and a demand for reparation? If you were divorced before we started dating, there shouldn't be any problem, right? Well, my ex-wife is crazy. Maybe she's demanding reparation out of spite because I got married. That was the excuse he gave, but such a lie was quickly exposed. The envelope included a letter. I wrote along with my contact information, so Susan called me directly. In that call, I told her about the affair, the invalid divorce, and that they had a wedding ceremony while he was still married to me. Although they had a wedding ceremony, they hadn't submitted the marriage registration yet. John wanted to submit it on You Good Coos Day, so it was still pending. He probably delayed submitting the marriage registration due to uncertainty about whether the divorce was finalized. After being exposed, Jan fled from Susan's house and shamelessly contacted me again. I still had something to tell him, so we agreed to meet at a nearby cafe. As soon as I arrived, John said, "Karen, please withdraw the reparation claim. Let's pretend we've been separated for a long time and officially divorced. Now I can apologize to Susan for being secretly divorced and maybe cover it up. You think I'm desperate to stay married to you. I was going to file for divorce anyway, but since you cheated, you'll pay reparation. Just trying to extort money from me, huh? Typical of the poor, you have such a poor heart. You're talking nonsense. Depending on my answer, everything can change. There's still an option where we don't divorce. If I say no, you can't reject it, meaning you can't marry Susan and your marital status will be exposed. Fine, I'll pay the reparation. Just divorce me now. Sign here. Then about property division. Property division? How much more do you want to take from me? Reparation should be enough. Remember, we agreed to waive property division, right? So let's make it official. All right. You're not as bad as I thought. Thank you. We then went to a public notary, made a public document for reparation and property division, and then to the city hall to submit the divorce papers, finalizing our divorce. Relieved, I exchanged final words with John. Glad we don't have to divide property. What are you saying? I'm the one who benefits from that. By the way, do you even have assets? After paying me reparation, Susan will also claim damages. She mentioned charging you for the wedding expenses. That's impossible. I'm marrying Susan. She can't claim that. We're divorced now, so there should be no problem. Still living in a fantasy. You committed marriage fraud. You had a wedding while still married. You think Susan still believes you. A marriage fraud? That's ridiculous. Susan will believe me. Believe that if you want. I heard from Susan directly. Also, weren't the guests at your wedding paid actors? You still owe them. You knew about that. I haven't paid them yet. What does it matter to you? You could have just taken property division and been better off. That's what I wanted to tell you. Even if we had divided property, you would have benefited more. What are you talking about, poor woman? Your family is poor, and you only make $15,000 a year, right? Even if you got a raise, it would be barely $20,000. You don't have any property. You keep calling me poor, so I thought you might be mistaken. Yes, my salary is indeed $15,000. But you know I work for a foreign company, right? It seems you have no interest in me, but I became a director of the American branch. It's not $115,000 per year, but per month, $155,000 per month. So that's an annual income of $1,860,000. You're still bad with numbers. How do you manage to keep a job? It's $180,000 a year. $180,000? That can't be true. Of course, I haven't had the chance to spend such an amount, so I've been saving it for the future. The savings from before our marriage aren't part of the property division, but there's still a considerable amount since our marriage. So, I could have received half of that in the property division. You were my destiny after all. I'll get the divorce papers corrected. Are you okay? After all the contempt, you think I'd gladly undo the divorce. If you have that much money, you don't need to claim reparation, right? It's just a small amount for you. He who laughs at 1 cent will weep for 1 cent. This reparation is for the mental anguish you caused me. I'd like to claim more, honestly. And since we've made it official, make sure to pay it, even in installments. I'll be penniless. Also, don't go back to that apartment. Your belongings should have been moved to your parents' house by now. You thought I had few belongings, but that was because I had already moved. Most of them were you that indifferent to me? I can't have so little, so I have to go back to my parents' house. They don't know anything yet. Do they? Let me explain. Don't say anything. I've already told them everything. It's only right to explain why we're divorcing. Oh, and your father said, don't ever step over our threshold again, so I have nowhere to go. He collapsed, and I left the cafe. Later, I heard he caused trouble at the police station. Despite my advice, he went back to the apartment. He sat there aimlessly in the empty apartment until the manager called the police, and he was taken away. I'm not sure if it was for obstructing public duties, trespassing, or for the falsified divorce papers. Eventually, his parents took responsibility for him after talking with me and learning about Susan. They decided that apologizing and paying damages to Susan's family came first. They went to Susan's house to apologize, kneeling in front of her family. They settled everything without pressing charges for marriage fraud, even paying for the wedding expenses. I had expected them to sue, so it was disappointing they didn't. So I decided to pursue legal action against him for forging the divorce papers. John offered a settlement, but I didn't withdraw the lawsuit. I didn't want him to think everything could be solved with money. I wanted him to be convicted and understand the gravity of his actions. Even if it cost time and money, I left everything to my lawyer, so it wasn't too burdensome for me. Even though it took time, Jen exposed for his actions and the marriage fraud at his company couldn't stay there anymore. After being detained by the police and subsequently absent without leave, he was eventually fired. He ended up living at his parents' home, working all day at a relative's construction company. His father took all his earnings, leaving him with no income. I thought his parents wouldn't abandon him, but they were stricter than I expected. They paid my reparation and Susan's compensation, planning to make him work like a horse until he repaid everything. He lived in a shed-like place with no electricity, receiving only $5 per day for food, deducted from his salary. They planned to disown and kick him out once he's repaid everything, a harsh fate after years of hard work. I was offered a position at the head office abroad, so I moved overseas after the divorce was finalized. I worried John might come to me for help or harbor resentment, but the move abroad alleviated those concerns. I thought work would be my partner for a while, but soon I found a new relationship. I'm now dating a foreign executive at our head office, and I'm pregnant with plans to marry soon. I told him everything about my past and my ex-husband, and he's understanding. I'll take maternity leave and plan to return to work later, supported by him. He's enthusiastic about taking paternity leave and co-parenting, showing a different cultural perspective. After being tormented by my ex-husband, I finally feel I'm grasping true happiness and confidence in building the happy family I'd always dreamed of. Many suffer due to selfish spouses. While divorce isn't always the right choice, enduring silence isn't a virtue. It's important to know that honest discussions can lead to resolutions, and sometimes divorce is a necessary option.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa, a 27-year-old marketing executive at Thompson & Associates. 2 years ago, my life took an unexpected turn when I met James Miller at a corporate event. He was charming, successful, and seemed like the perfect match. Our relationship moved quickly. Coffee dates turned into dinner dates, and before I knew it, we were spending every weekend together. "You're different from anyone I've ever met," James would say, holding my hand across the table. His words made my heart flutter. Little did I know what I was really getting into. Everything was perfect until I met his mother, Eleanor Miller. She arrived unannounced at one of our dinner dates, dressed in designer clothes and wearing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Oh, so this is the girl you've been seeing." "I pictured someone different," she said, her words dripping with barely concealed judgment. My best friend Teresa noticed it right away. "Girl, did you see how she looked at you when you mentioned your promotion? Like you just said you worked at a fast food joint," she said later. "Maybe she's just protective," I defend, though Teresa always shook her head. "No, honey, that woman is marking her territory." James's sister, Sarah, was a different story. She pulled me aside at family gatherings, squeezing my arm reassuringly. "Don't let Mom get to you. She does this to everyone." But the red flags were hard to ignore. Eleanor would forget to set a place for me at family dinners or conveniently exclude me from family photos. When I brought it up to James, he'd shrug. "Baby, that's just how Mom is. She'll warm up to you eventually." Things escalated when James proposed. Eleanor immediately took over the engagement party planning. "No, no, dear," she said, brushing off my suggestions. "You couldn't possibly understand our family traditions. I'll handle everything." "But I thought we could plan it together," I ventured. "Oh, sweetie, you're so busy with your little job." "Let me take care of it," she replied with that condescending smile. James, standing awkwardly nearby, avoided eye contact. "Mom knows best," he muttered. Even Sarah tried to warn me. She did this with James' ex too, started small, then got worse. Teresa, as usual, didn't hold back. "Are you seriously letting her run your engagement party?" "Girl, this is just the beginning." I watched helplessly as Eleanor took over every detail: the venue, the guest list, the menu. She even tried to choose my dress. "The blue one makes you look more appropriate," she said, her tone saccharine but her eyes cold. Now, with the engagement party a week away, I'm watching Eleanor transform what should be our celebration into her show. James insists I'm overreacting, but Teresa and Sarah see it too. Something tells me this party is going to be unforgettable, just not in the way I'd hoped. "Just remember, Teresa told me yesterday you're marrying James, not his mother." But lately, I wonder if that's really true, because it feels like I'm signing up for both, and Eleanor Miller is making it very clear who's in charge. The engagement party was a spectacle straight out of Eleanor's playbook. Crystal chandeliers, extravagant floral arrangements, and her high society friends filling every corner of her mansion. I felt out of place the moment I walked in, especially when I saw she'd rearranged the seating chart to put me at a corner table, far from James. "Darling, you understand, don't you? The Andersons simply must sit with James. They're such important business connections." Throughout the night, Eleanor made sure everyone knew who was in control. She interrupted my conversations with guests, redirecting them to James' achievements. "Isn't he just perfect? And to think he's building his empire all by himself," she'd say, emphasizing by himself while glancing at me dismissively. The breaking point came during her speech. I was standing near the dessert table when she approached, coffee cup in hand. Mid-sentence, she began to talk about welcoming new family members who understand our standards. The silence was deafening when Eleanor suddenly tripped, spilling hot coffee all over my cream-colored dress. The liquid seeped into the fabric, leaving a dark stain as I stood there, mortified. "Oh my, look what you made me do," Eleanor gasped theatrically. clutching her chest as though she were the victim. "Quick, clean this up before it stains my imported carpet." I froze, the coffee dripping down my dress. "On your knees, dear," she instructed, her voice loud enough to carry across the room. "That's the only way to properly clean it." "James, darling, get her some towels," Eleanor demanded. James stepped forward hesitantly, his face pale. "Mom, maybe we should." "James, my carpet. Do you know how much it costs? Lisa needs to clean up her mess." I turned to James, silently pleading for him to intervene, but he simply handed me the towels, avoiding my eyes. "It's easier if we just do what she says," he whispered. From across the room, I caught Sarah subtly recording the scene on her phone. Then Teresa pushed through the crowd, grabbing my arm. "We're leaving. Now." "But the party. It's over." "For you," Teresa said firmly, steering me out the door. As we drove away, my phone buzzed. Sarah had sent me screenshots of texts between James and Eleanor from the past month. "She's not right for you, darling. Did you see how she embarrassed us at the country club?" "Mom, Lisa's trying her best." "Best isn't good enough for a Miller. Remember Caroline? She knew how to behave in our circles." The messages painted a chilling picture. Eleanor had sabotaged the venue booking by pretending to be my wedding planner. She told the caterer we wanted to go in a different direction. She had even contacted my boss under the guise of concern about my work hours. Another text from Sarah came in. "I found something else. Mom's been meeting with Caroline. She's trying to get her back with James." Teresa tightened her grip on the steering wheel. "You need to see this for what it is. She humiliated you in front of everyone, and James let it happen." As if on cue, my phone lit up again. James's message read, "Mom's upset you left early. She says you're being dramatic about a little accident. Maybe you should apologize." That's when I knew. This wasn't just about coffee on a dress. This was Eleanor showing me exactly who she was, and James showing me exactly who he wasn't. The next morning, I met Patricia, James's ex-fiancée, over coffee in a quiet diner. She stirred her drink nervously. "I should have warned you when I heard about the engagement," she said. "Eleanor didn't just break us up, she systematically destroyed my life." Patricia shared stories eerily similar to mine. "She made me clean spilled wine at their Christmas party, called me a gold digger at our engagement party. By the end, I lost a promotion and had to move cities." Sarah joined us, dropping a folder on the table. "You need to see this," she said grimly. "Mom doesn't just control James emotionally, she's the silent partner in his business. She funds everything through family loans. He can't make a single decision without her approval." Back at work, the fallout began. Clients canceled meetings. My boss called me in. "Someone's expressed concerns about your reliability. Care to explain these calls about your unstable behavior during work hours?" Teresa helped me document everything. The phone calls, the rumors, the sabotage. "Look at this pattern," she pointed out. "She's done the same thing to Sarah's college boyfriend, James's high school girlfriend, even their cousin's fiancé. Anyone who threatens her control gets eliminated." I confronted James at his office, presenting the evidence. "These are ridiculous accusations," he snapped. "Mom's looking out for me. You're just jealous of our close relationship." "Close relationship? She's suffocating you, James. She controls your business, your relationships, your entire life." "At least she's family," he retorted. "You're just someone who clearly doesn't understand our world." Later that night, Sarah called, her voice shaking. "I found something while going through Mom's office. She's been forging signatures on business documents. The Miller family business isn't as clean as everyone thinks." Eleanor's next move was bold. She showed up at my office, uninvited. "I'm willing to forget this unfortunate situation if you walk away quietly," she said with a razor-sharp smile. "Otherwise, I have friends in many places. Your career, your reputation, such fragile things." That night, I spread everything out on my dining table. Documentation, testimonies, and proof of Eleanor's manipulation. Teresa sat beside me, flipping through the pages. "Girl, you know what you have to do," she said. "You're right," I replied. "I deserve better than this." I drafted a message to James. "I won't be another victim of your mother's games. I choose myself. The ring will be returned through my lawyer. Don't contact me again." Sarah sent me one last text. "You're doing the right thing. I wish I was as strong as you." That night, I stared at my reflection in the mirror and saw something I hadn't seen in months, myself. Not Eleanor's puppet, not James's conflicted fiancé. Just me, the woman who refused to kneel any longer. Teresa hugged me tightly. This isn't the end, you know. It's your new beginning. For the first time since the coffee incident, I smiled. Because this time, the mess I was cleaning up wasn't on my knees, it was on my terms. I didn't need to do anything else. Karma had already started its work. Sarah's video of the coffee incident went viral within our social circle, capturing Eleanor's calculated cruelty in crystal clear detail. Her cold commands, my humiliation, the shocked faces of the guests, all laid bare. Did you see how Eleanor treated that poor girl? People whispered. I always knew something was off about her. The whispers turned into roars when Eleanor's business rivals got wind of her fraudulent practices. Mr. Richardson, a longtime competitor, reached out to me during a chance meeting. You weren't the first person she tried to destroy, he said with a grim smile, but you'll definitely be the last. James's business partners started pulling out, one after another. Teresa, with her connections in finance, kept me updated. They're discovering years of Eleanor's interference in deals, she reported. Your mother's signature is on documents she had no authority to sign, one partner said. This isn't just unethical, it's illegal. Then came my own sweet victory. Remember my little job Eleanor loved to dismiss. Well, guess who just got headhunted by Miller Enterprises' biggest competitor? We've been watching your work, my new CEO told me during the interview, and we value people who stand up for themselves. One afternoon, Sarah called me, laughing through tears. Mom just got uninvited from the charity board she's chaired for 15 years. They said her recent behavior doesn't align with their values. From a safe distance, I watched Eleanor's carefully constructed world crumble. The country club suddenly had no tables available when she called. Her bridge group disbanded. Even her gardening circle found a new leader. James, of course, tried to reach out. He showed up at my new office one afternoon, looking disheveled and remorseful. I was wrong, he said, his voice shaking. I see it all now, what she did to you, to us. Please, can we try again? I looked him in the eye, calm and resolute. The coffee stains came out of my dress, I told him. But the memory of you standing there, doing nothing, that's permanent. Sarah finally moved out of the family mansion. We meet for coffee every week now. Real coffee, with no hidden agendas or power plays. You gave me the courage to break free, she told me last week. I'm starting my own business, away from family money. Yesterday, I saw Eleanor at a restaurant. She was sitting alone, her designer outfit still impeccable, but her table conspicuously empty. Our eyes met briefly. I smiled, not out of cruelty, but because I felt nothing. No anger. No fear. No need for revenge. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. Eleanor wanted me on my knees, but I rose higher than she ever imagined. And the view from up here, absolutely perfect. Hi, I'm Diana. 3 years after losing my mom to cancer, my world turned upside down. I was 16, clinging to the memories of my mom while watching my dad, Jack, fall for Regina, a bakery owner who seemed as sweet as her cupcakes. She'll be good for us, Diana. We need to move forward, Dad said, announcing their engagement. I wanted to believe him, but something about Regina felt off. Your father tells me you love art. I'd love to see your work sometime, Regina said during our first dinner together. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Then came Macy, Regina's daughter. Nice room. Guess we'll have to share since Mom wants me close to her, she said, dumping her designer bags on my floor like she owned the place. I found refuge at the Silverling Gallery after school, where I worked arranging displays. Your eye for detail is remarkable, my boss would say. At least someone appreciated my passion. Patsy, darling, could you help out at the bakery this weekend? Just a few hours, Regina asked one Friday. Those few hours turned into every weekend. Then after school too. No pay, just family duty. But I have my gallery job, I protested. Family comes first, sweetheart. Besides, your little art hobby can wait, Regina said. Mrs. Chen, our elderly neighbor, always seemed to be watering her plants when drama unfolded. Young girl, I see everything from my window, she said one afternoon. Your stepmother reminds me of someone I once knew. Be careful. Even my best friend Lisa noticed the changes. She's all sweet when your dad's around. But I see how she looks at you when he turns away, Lisa whispered over lunch. She made me quit my gallery job, I confided. Says I need to focus on learning the bakery business. She's trying to control everything about you, Lisa said, her eyes narrowing. My art teacher, Miss Thompson, became my sanctuary. Your latest piece shows such raw emotion, Diana. Are you okay? She asked. I'm fine, I lied, while Regina's Instagram portrayed a perfect blended family. #blessed, #family first, #stepmom life. Look how many likes our family photo got. Regina beamed at dinner. Patsy, next time wear something more presentable and smile more. Dad was barely home, always traveling for work. Regina's doing her best, he'd say during our brief phone calls. Give her a chance. But how could I, when she was erasing everything that made me me, my art, my job, my space? Everything had to fit her perfect family narrative. Remember, Macy whispered one night, her voice like a dagger, Mom always gets what she wants. Always. The way she said it sent chills down my spine. Little did I know, the nightmare was only beginning. With Dad taking more business trips, Regina stopped pretending. Her true colors blowed through. Look at Macy's perfect grades. Why can't you be more like her? She'd snap during dinner, while Macy smirked behind her phone. My art portfolio for college was due, but Regina ensured I had no time to work on it. Art won't pay the bills, Patsy. Look at your father. He works in the real world. Then came her birthday. It was an obsession, a social media spectacle. I want you to bake my cake. It needs to look exactly like this. She shoved a magazine photo of an impossibly intricate 4-tier cake into my hands. But I've never made anything that elaborate, I said, my voice trembling. Are you saying you're not capable, after all the time you've spent in my bakery? Regina's eyes glinted with a dangerous malice I'd come to fear. Determined not to fail, I spent hours in the kitchen. The counters were a disaster, powdered sugar coated my hair, and the cake, it just wasn't working. By the time the 3rd tier collapsed, I felt like collapsing too. Regina stormed in, her heels clicking sharply on the tile. You stupid, worthless girl. You're ruining everything. Before I could respond, she grabbed the iron she'd been using for her party dress, still hot and glowing. Let me teach you what happens to failures in this house. The searing pain when she pressed it against my arm was unbearable. I screamed, begging her to stop, but her grip didn't loosen. Maybe this will help you remember to do things right, she hissed, pressing harder. What neither of us realized was that Macy stood in the doorway, phone in hand, recording the entire scene. I caught a glimpse of her sliding away silently as my vision blurred with tears. Later that night, I sat on the porch, tears streaming down my face as I clumsily tried to bandage the burns. Mrs. Chen appeared out of nowhere, her concerned face illuminated by the porch light. Come with me, child. I have burn cream, she said, her hands trembling as she treated my wounds. This cannot continue. A car pulled up just then. A man stepped out, tall and commanding, his face a sharper, older version of Macy's. I'm Derek, Regina's ex-husband, he said. I've been watching her. I know what she's capable of. Why are you here? I asked, my voice barely audible. Macy called me. She's scared too, Patsy. Regina has a history of this. That's why I fought for custody years ago, but she's good at hiding the evidence. That night, with my arm throbbing under makeshift bandages, I poured my emotions into a new art piece. The portrait was haunting, a smiling woman with flames for hands. When Miss Thompson saw it the next day, she gasped, Diana, this is powerful. Are you trying to tell me something? I tugged my sleeves down tighter. It's just art, I lied, but we both knew it was more than that. My bruises might have been hidden, but my art screamed the truth I couldn't say out loud. Document everything, Derek had said before leaving. Your time for justice will come. That night, as Regina posted pictures of her store-bought birthday cake on Instagram, #perfectbirthday, #blessedmother, I stared at the cracks beginning to show in her perfect facade. The truth started leaking out during art class. My sleeve rode up as I reached for a brush, exposing the burn. Oh my God, what happened to your arm? Miss Thompson asked, grabbing my wrist gently. I had an accident with the stove, I stammered. That's not a stove burn, Diana. I used to volunteer at a women's shelter. I know what I'm looking at. That same afternoon, Derek showed up at school. Your dad needs to know the truth about Regina. Years ago, she lost custody of Macy after incidents. I have court documents to prove it. Then why is Macy with her now? I asked. She manipulated the system, promised Macy everything she wanted, but it's all falling apart. At the bakery, things were unraveling. Regina was more focused on controlling me than managing her business. You can't fire me just because your stepdaughter messed up an order. Sarah, a longtime employee, yelled. I can do whatever I want. Get out. Every one of you is replaceable. Regina screamed as Sarah and two others walked out. Meanwhile, Macy started leaving her phone around, quietly recording her mother's tirades. Mom, maybe you should calm down, she'd suggest sweetly, handling the camera just right. Don't tell me how to run my house. Regina would snap, oblivious to being documented. I tried to tell Dad during his rare calls. Dad, Regina's not who you think. She burned me. Stop making up stories, Diana, he interrupted. Regina says you're acting out because you miss your mom. You need to stop seeking attention. Mrs. Chen arrived at our door one evening, holding a thick notebook. I write everything I see, the screaming, the injuries, the employees leaving. Your father needs this when he's ready to see the truth. Regina's perfect social media world was crumbling. Her latest post about family dinner was bombarded with comments. Ask her about her bakery's turnover rate. Wonder if she burns her employees like she burns her stepdaughter. Regina went ballistic, deleting comments as fast as they appeared. They're all lying. They're jealous of our perfect life. Macy cornered me in our room that night, her face pale but determined. I have videos, Diana. Lots of them, she confessed, voice trembling. Mom, she did the same things to me when I was younger. That's why Dad left. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, feeling both betrayed and heartbroken. Because I thought if I played along, stayed her perfect daughter, she wouldn't hurt me again. I was wrong. She just found a new target. The next weeks were chaos. The bakery's reviews plummeted. Worst management ever. Owner too busy terrorizing her family to run a business. Regina's rage grew with every bad review. This is your fault, she screamed, her face twisted with fury. You've turned everyone against me. But for the first time, I wasn't scared. Unlike before, I wasn't alone. Mrs. Chen was watching. Miss Thompson was watching. Derek was investigating. And Macy was recording everything. Your perfect family is falling apart, I said, my voice steady. And you did this to yourself. The look in her eyes told me I'd pay for that comment, but this time I was ready. We all were. Everything unraveled faster than one of Regina's overpriced cakes. Dad called in a panic after receiving an anonymous video compilation. Is this real, Patsy? Why didn't you tell me? I tried, Dad, but she always convinced you I was lying. The health department raided the bakery after anonymous tips. They found expired ingredients, rat droppings, and falsified inspection documents. Regina's Instagram perfect life imploded as #ReginaTheAbuser trended. Her followers watched her meltdown in real time. You ungrateful brats. I gave you everything, she screamed in one video. You gave us trauma, Macy replied calmly. Dad filed for divorce the same day. Regina was arrested for child abuse. The evidence was overwhelming. Mrs. Chen's meticulous diary, teacher testimonies, medical records of my burns, and Macy's videos. 5 years flew by. I graduated from art school with honors, and the opening night of my gallery, Phoenix Rising, Art of Survival, drew hundreds of people. Meanwhile, Regina worked the register at a gas station, her designer clothes replaced by a polyester uniform. Her bakery was gone, replaced by a thriving cooperative owned by her former employees. Your work is changing lives, a young girl told me at the gallery. It helped me speak up about my own abuse. In that moment, I knew everything I endured had a purpose. My art had become a voice for those still trapped in silence. Last I heard, Regina tried opening a home bakery, but her reputation followed her. No one wanted cakes from the woman whose abuse went viral. I looked around at my success, the gallery, my healing, my chosen family, and realized Regina had given me one thing, the fuel to rise above her flames. And Regina, she's exactly where she deserves to be, alone, watching through a gas station window as her victims thrive without her. But here's the lingering question. Is forgiveness truly necessary for healing? I refused to forgive Regina. Even as she lost everything, I succeeded, healed, and built a beautiful life. Forgiveness wasn't part of my journey, and yet, I found peace. What's your take? Should survivors feel pressured to forgive their abusers to complete their healing? Or is it enough to simply let go and move forward? Hi, I'm Emily. When you're the only one who sees through someone's act, it can feel like you're living in a parallel world. That's been my life ever since Harry waltzed into our family 3 years ago. To everyone else, he's the charming businessman who swept my mom, Laura, off her feet after Dad passed away. Everyone except me. Your mother deserves happiness, Emily. Why can't you just accept that? My sister Charlie's words from last week still ring in my ears. She doesn't see what I see. How Harry's caring suggestions are really controlling demands, or how Mom's vibrant, spontaneous personality has dimmed since he moved in. Have you noticed Mom doesn't even go to her painting classes anymore? I'd ask Charlie. She's busy helping Harry with his business ventures. Besides, those classes were expensive, Charlie said dismissively. His so-called business ventures that always seem to need Mom's savings to get off the ground. I've tried pointing out the red flags to Charlie, but Harry has her completely under his spell, especially since he offered to pay for her dream wedding to Brandon. Brandon, at least, is one of the few people who sees through Harry. Last month at dinner, he pulled me aside. I saw how Harry spoke to your mom when she wanted to visit you in Chicago. Something's not right. I was starting to lose hope until Jennifer, Mom's oldest friend, cornered me at the supermarket. Your instincts about Harry aren't wrong, she said, glancing around as if she were about to share classified information. I've heard things from people who knew him before. That's when the pieces began falling into place. The secretive phone calls in the garage, the way he tenses up when anyone mentions his past, and the locked drawer in his office he thinks no one knows about. We need to talk, Jennifer whispered. Privately. There's so much your mother doesn't know. Before we could meet, Charlie dropped a bombshell. Brandon proposed. We're having an engagement party next month, she announced, glowing with excitement. Harry immediately took charge. I'll handle everything. It needs to be perfect for my little girl. Little girl? Charlie isn't even his daughter. But there he was, playing Father of the Year. You'll help with the planning, right, Emily? Charlie asked, beaming. Of course, I said, forcing a smile. I caught Harry's expression darken. He hates when I'm involved in family events. Too many questions, he says. Too negative. Well, if he thinks I ask too many questions now, just wait. Jennifer's intel might be exactly what I need to expose him. And the engagement party? It could be the perfect moment to crack his carefully crafted facade. When Jennifer arrived at my apartment, she brought a stack of documents. Her hands shook as she spread them across my kitchen table. 3 marriages, Emily. All ended within 2 years. Each time he walked away with everything. Marriage certificates, divorce records, even newspaper clippings, it was all there in black and white. Harry Thompson wasn't even his real name. He changed it after his second divorce. Patricia Morrison, his first wife, tried to warn the others, Jennifer explained. He isolated her, convinced her to invest in his schemes, and drained her accounts before she caught on. My stomach dropped. Just like Mom's painting studio money. Sarah Chin, wife number 2, lost her restaurant, Jennifer continued. And Elizabeth Baker. She filed a restraining order but later dropped it and moved across the country. No one's heard from her since. My phone buzzed. Another text from Charlie. Harry's taking care of the guest list. Isn't he the best? But he thinks maybe you should skip the planning committee. Classic Harry, Jennifer sighed. He did the same thing with Elizabeth's daughter's graduation. Always the caring father figure, until someone starts asking questions. I opened the banking app Mom had given me emergency access to. The balance had dropped again. Look at this, I said, showing Jennifer. 3 transfers to business development partners this month. Shell company, Jennifer said grimly. He used the same trick with Patricia. We need to act fast before your mom's account ends up like the others. A knock at the door made us both jump. It was Brandon, looking worried. Emily, you need to hear this, he said. I stopped by your mom's place to drop off some engagement photos. Harry was in the garage, arguing on the phone. What did you hear? I asked, bracing myself. Something about handling the Emily situation and making sure she doesn't ruin things this time. He sounded dangerous, not like his usual self. Jennifer gathered the documents quickly. He's getting nervous. Last time someone dug into his past, Elizabeth lost everything. The engagement party's in 3 days, I said, an idea forming. Everyone he knows will be there, including some faces from his past. He won't be expecting it. Emily, be careful, Jennifer warned. Elizabeth tried a public confrontation, and that's when things got ugly. But Elizabeth was alone. I've got proof, witnesses, and a backup plan. I held up my phone, showing them the email I just received. I found his second wife, Sarah. She's willing to talk. Brandon checked his watch. Charlie and your mom are meeting the caterers in an hour. Harry insisted on going with them. Perfect. That gives us time to set up everything at the venue, I said. Jennifer, call Sarah. See if she can fly in. Brandon, keep Charlie busy tomorrow. I'll make copies of all these documents. What about your mom? Brandon asked. She gets the truth. But first, we make sure Harry can't talk his way out of it. Not this time. He's going to fight back, Jennifer said. Let him try. I'm not Elizabeth, Patricia, or Sarah. I'm the daughter he tried to push away, and I've got nothing to lose. For the next hour, we planned every detail. Harry thought he was directing this show, but he had no idea he was about to star in his own exposure party. The country club ballroom sparkled with champagne glasses and fake smiles. Harry played the proud father figure, one arm around Mom's waist, the other patting Brandon's shoulder as he bragged about his girls to his business partners. Everything's in place, Jennifer whispered, handing me a fresh drink. Sarah's in position. Patricia sent over the video deposition. All we need is you. Charlie rushed over, her engagement ring catching the light. Why aren't you mingling? Harry says you've been acting weird all week. Just waiting for the right moment, sis. It's your special day after all. Harry's eyes tracked my every move as I circled the room. Good, let him sweat. Brandon had already connected his laptop to the projector for the special engagement slideshow. Time for speeches. Harry's voice boomed across the room. As the proud father of this beautiful bride-to-be, stepfather, I corrected, stepping forward. And speaking of family roles, Harry, why don't we talk about your other families? The room fell silent. Mom turned, confusion crossing her face. Emily, what are you? Does the name Patricia Morrison mean anything to you, Harry? Or maybe Sarah Chen? Elizabeth Baker? Harry's face hardened. You're making a scene. This is Charlie's day. No, Harry, this is your day, the day everyone learns who you really are. Brandon clicked his laptop and the projector hummed to life, displaying marriage certificates, court documents, and newspaper clippings. 3 marriages, 3 divorces, 3 women left bankrupt, and now you're working on number 4. Turn that off. Harry lunged toward Brandon, but Jennifer stepped in his path. Hello, Harry, Sarah Chen said, emerging from the crowd. Remember me? The restaurant you convinced me to sign over. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Harry, they're lying. Lauren, this is ridiculous, Harry blustered. The only ridiculous thing, I said, pulling up Mom's banking records on the projector, is how you thought you'd get away with the same scam a 4th time. Business Development Partners, your favorite shell company, needs a new name. Charlie stood frozen. The wedding fund doesn't exist. It doesn't, Sarah confirmed. Just like my retirement fund didn't, or Patricia's savings, or Elizabeth's inheritance. Harry's carefully constructed mask cracked. You ungrateful little. He lunged at me, hands outstretched. Brandon intercepted him, grabbing his arms, while 2 of Harry's business partners stepped in to help. Amid the chaos, Jennifer slipped a USB drive to the police officer waiting by the door, the same officer who had handled Elizabeth's restraining order. Get your hands off me. Laura, tell them. But Mom stood tall, her artist's eyes finally seeing the full picture. No, Harry, you tell me. Tell me why our joint account is empty. Tell me where my studio money went. I was protecting our future. Everything I did was for this family. Which family? Sarah asked. The one in Oregon? Texas? Or Elizabeth's family? Charlie's tears turned to anger. You promised. You said you'd help with the wedding. He says that to everyone, sis, I said, moving to hug her. But this time, he's the one who loses everything. 2 months after the engagement party, Mom and I sat across from each other at our favorite coffee shop. She looked younger than she had in years. The divorce papers are signed. The DA is pressing charges for assault and financial fraud, she said, sipping her coffee. How are you feeling? I asked. Relieved, embarrassed, grateful. She reached for my hand. I should have listened to you sooner. Harry fooled a lot of people, Mom. Sarah and Patricia were both successful businesswomen, she said, smiling. Speaking of Sarah, she's helping me restart my art studio. Says it's her way of paying it forward. Jennifer joined us, setting her bag down. I just got off the phone with Elizabeth's daughter. Harry's other victims are filing civil suits. He won't have a penny left when they're done. Or a friend, I added. His business partners jumped ship the moment they saw those documents. Turns out he was scamming them too. Have you heard from Charlie? Jennifer asked. The bell above the door chimed. Why don't you ask me yourself? Charlie stood in the doorway, Brandon beside her holding a stack of new wedding invitations. We're thinking a small garden ceremony, she said, a smile breaking through. No fake father figure required. Charlie, Mom began, her voice faltering. It's okay, Mom. Charlie crossed the room and took her hand. Emily was right. We all needed a wake-up call. She grinned, looking at me. Besides, my maid of honor here saved us from making a huge mistake. And the wedding fund? Brandon asked. Already handled, Jennifer announced. Patricia and Sarah started a collection among Harry's victims. They want to sponsor the wedding, a celebration of new beginnings. My phone buzzed with a news alert. I glanced at the screen and couldn't help but smirk. Harry's mugshot filled the display, replacing those polished headshots he once loved. 3 counts of financial fraud, I read aloud, plus the assault charges. He's looking at 8 to 10 years. Mom chuckled. The jewelry he gave me paid for a good lawyer. Turns out it was fake, just like him. Sounds about right, Charlie added, rolling her eyes. Brandon squeezed her shoulder. The real ceremony is going to be perfect. No facades, no pretending. And no more mysterious business ventures, Mom said with a laugh. Though I did invest in something new, an alarm system for the art studio. Just in case. You won't need it, Jennifer assured her. Harry's other wives are making sure his face is known to every bank and business association in the country. I looked around the room at my real family. No perfect facades, no lies. Just us. Hey, Charlie, think we could hang the engagement party photos in the studio? You know, the ones right after Harry got arrested. Only if we put them next to Mom's new paintings, Charlie quipped. What are you calling that series again? Mom's eyes sparkled with her old mischief. Unmasked. It's all about revealing what's beneath the surface. Perfect title, I said, raising my glass. To seeing clearly. To family, Charlie added. The real kind, Mom finished. Outside, spring flowers bloomed in the window boxes, fresh starts all around. Harry's perfect world had crumbled, but ours was finally authentic, stronger than ever, built on truth instead of lies. Let's talk about it. This story was an experiment in exposing toxic family members and the hard choices that come with it. If you discovered someone close to you, like a step-parent, had a hidden, damaging past, would you reveal their secrets for the sake of justice, even if it risked family relationships? Is public exposure ever justified if it prevents others from becoming victims? Or does family loyalty mean handling such matters quietly behind closed doors? Many of you might be grappling with similar dilemmas. Share your thoughts in the comments. Hi, I'm Olivia. At first, life was incredible. I had just been promoted to senior marketing manager at one of Seattle's top tech firms, and my husband, John, and I had finally saved enough for a down payment on our dream home. With John working as a software developer, our dual incomes gave us a comfortable lifestyle. We were the picture of a young, thriving professional couple living the dream. Then there was Karen. Karen, my mother-in-law, seemed sweet during my courtship with John. She brought homemade cookies to family gatherings and asked me about my career with what I thought was genuine interest. I should have noticed the glint in her eyes when John mentioned my promotion. Family is everything, she'd say at Sunday dinners, stirring her coffee with a knowing smile. We support each other, no matter what. The first red flag appeared at Easter dinner, 3 months after our wedding. John tells me you're making 6 figures now, sweetheart, Karen announced, her voice slicing through the chatter at the table. Everyone paused mid-bite. You know, your cousin Jessica is struggling with her student loans. Mom, we talked about this, John said, his voice faltering just enough to betray his discomfort. Karen wasn't fazed. I'm just saying we're family. When I was young, we all pitched in. Your Aunt Mary paid for my nursing degree. Her tone dripped with Oscar-worthy guilt. I kept my composure. We're saving for our future right now, but I can help Jessica with her loan applications if she'd like. The look Karen gave me could have curdled milk. That was just the beginning. After that, the subtle jabs started. Comments about how young couples today were so selfish, how real families shared everything, how she'd raised John to understand family obligations. At every gathering, Karen would corner me in the kitchen, recounting tales of relatives who abandoned the family by refusing to share their wealth. She began showing up unannounced at our house with sob stories about distant cousins and their financial woes. The breaking point came last week. Karen called a family meeting at her house. When John and I arrived, we found not just Karen but all three of John's siblings and their spouses seated and solemn. "Olivia, dear," Karen began, holding a neatly typed sheet of paper. "I've calculated everyone's contributions to the family fund based on their incomes. Your monthly share would be $3,000. I stared at her, dumbfounded. "Excuse me?" "It's for the family emergency fund," she explained, her voice as sweet as syrup. "Everyone contributes based on their income." Then, with that sugar-coated smile, "John's already agreed." I turned to John, but he couldn't meet my eyes. That's when I realized this wasn't just Karen meddling. It was her attempt to control our lives through money. The car ride home was painfully silent. John opened his mouth a few times as if to say something, but no words came out. Finally, he spoke. "Maybe Mom has a point about family obligations." I nearly swerved off the road. "Are you serious? $3,000 a month for a fund we've never even heard of?" "You don't understand," he said, his tone defensive. "This is how we've always done things. Mom managed all our finances growing up. She knows what she's doing." That was just the start. Within days, the whispers began. John's sister, Emma, called, her voice dripping with concern. "Everyone's worried about you, Olivia. Karen says you've been hoarding money while family members are struggling." At family gatherings, the shift was palpable. Relatives who once chatted warmly now avoided me. Conversations stopped abruptly when I entered the room. Karen had been busy spreading her narrative. "Did you know Olivia bought a designer purse while poor Jessica might lose her apartment?" I overheard Karen telling John's Aunt Beth at a barbecue. For the record, the designer purse was a $50 clearance find, and Jessica's apartment troubles were news to me. John grew more distant with each passing day. "Mom says you're tearing the family apart with your selfishness," he said one evening over dinner before retreating to his home office. But Karen had made a mistake. She'd grown too confident in her web of control. During one of her infamous kitchen corner ambushes, cousin Amy pulled me aside, her eyes darting nervously. "Be careful, Olivia," she whispered. "Karen did this to my mom years ago. Convinced her to hand over her inheritance for the family fund. Mom never saw a penny of it again." That revelation was my tipping point. I started dating, and what I uncovered painted a chilling picture. Uncle Pete's failed business, Karen had managed his startup funds. Aunt Sarah's mysterious debt that forced her to sell her house. Another case of Karen's financial help. A pattern emerged. Karen targeted successful family members, guilted them into contributing to her so-called family fund, and somehow the money always disappeared into nebulous emergencies no one could quite explain. Then came the final straw. Karen's emergency family intervention. We were all gathered in her living room, the air thick with tension. This time, she'd outdone herself, presenting a full PowerPoint of my supposed selfishness, complete with doctored receipts and fabricated luxury purchases. "We're here because we're worried about Olivia's impact on this family's unity," Karen declared, clicking through slides. John sat next to her, avoiding my gaze, his silence cutting deeper than any accusation. I stood, my hands steady but my voice sharp. "Before we continue, I have some questions about the family fund's previous distributions." Karen's confident demeanor flickered for the first time. "That's not relevant, though." "Actually, it is." I turned to Uncle Pete. "Would you like to share what happened to your startup investment?" The room erupted into chaos. Karen screeched about disloyalty, while John tried to hush me, but the damage was done. I saw it, a spark of recognition in several family members' eyes. The first crack in Karen's carefully constructed facade. And I wasn't done yet. Amy's tip about her mom's inheritance had been just the beginning. I hired a private investigator, the best $3,000 I'd ever spent. What I uncovered was staggering. Karen's family fund was a black hole of debt and deceit. Maxed out credit cards, remortgaged houses, and personal loans taken out in various family members' names. She told my mom that money went to cousin David's medical bills, Amy whispered one night, her hands trembling as we pored over the documents on my kitchen table. David never had surgery. I started a group chat, carefully adding family members I suspected were Karen's victims. The stories poured in. She convinced me to co-sign a loan for her investment property. Aunt Sarah revealed. There was no property. My business didn't fail, Uncle Pete confessed. She drained the accounts she managed for me. Meanwhile, Karen escalated her harassment. She began showing up at my office, cornering me in the parking lot. "You ungrateful little snake," she hissed one morning, her face twisted with rage. "I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are." I recorded everything. When John stumbled upon my investigation files, his reaction was explosive. Not at Karen, but at me. "How dare you investigate my mother?" he shouted. "She's done everything for this family. She's stealing from everyone, John. Look at the evidence." "I want a divorce," he said coldly. "Mom was right. You were never really family." I didn't cry. Something inside me had been bracing for this moment. "Okay, John. But before you go, you might want to check your credit report. Your mom opened 3 cards in your name last year." He called me a liar and stormed out, straight to Karen's house, of course. But I wasn't done. At a company charity gala, Karen made her boldest move yet, crashing the event and telling my CEO that I'd been embezzling family money. I let her talk. Then, during my scheduled presentation, I stepped up to the podium. "Since we're discussing financial responsibility," I began, clicking to my first slide. "Let's talk about the real numbers." The screen filled with evidence. Karen's debt schemes, forged signatures, fraudulent loans. Videos of her threats played on a loop. "You're ruining my family," Karen shrieked, lunging for the podium. Security held her back as she spiraled into a tirade about ungrateful children and family loyalty. In the stunned silence that followed, 3 of my coworkers came forward, admitting Karen had contacted them too, trying to spread her lies. Phase 1 of Karen's takedown was complete. The real reckoning came at the Thompson family reunion. Normally a potluck filled with forced smiles, this year I brought receipts, literally. Before we start the usual festivities, I announced, standing at the front of the community center, "We need to discuss what happened to the family fund." Karen's face turned ashen as I projected bank statements, loan documents, and credit reports onto the screen. Years of her financial abuse laid bare in black and white. The room fell silent as I walked through each scheme. Jessica's non-existent student loans, David's fake medical bills, Amy's mom's stolen inheritance. That money was meant for family emergencies. Karen tried to interject, but Aunt Sarah was the first to rise. "Like the emergency where you took my house down payment and blamed it on bad investments." Her voice shook with restrained anger. "I lost my dream home because of you, Karen." The room was silent, the weight of her words hanging heavy. Then Uncle Pete stood. "My business didn't fail because of me. It was because you drained the accounts I trusted you to manage." Cousin David was next, his face pale. "What surgery? I never had surgery. You told everyone I needed money for medical bills." One by one, they stood, each revelation hitting like a thunderbolt. Years of Karen's manipulation unraveled in mere minutes, each new betrayal stripping her power away. "You all agreed to help." Karen's voice rose hysterically, her composure slipping. "Tell them, John. Tell them how this family works." But John wasn't defending her this time. He was staring at the credit report in his hands, his face ashen. It showed $87,000 in loans he'd never taken out, each one bearing his mother's perfectly forged signature. "Mom, how could you?" His voice was barely a whisper. Karen's face twisted, her mask finally cracking. "Everything I did was for this family," she shrieked, lunging for the laptop and knocking over chairs in the process. "You're all ungrateful. I controlled this family for 30 years. The room went silent, her unintentional confession echoing. Karen froze, realizing what she'd just admitted. The fallout was swift and spectacular. Within hours, 3 families contacted lawyers. John, finally confronting reality, discovered that his savings had been drained. His mother had secretly accessed his accounts. He'd lost everything enabling her schemes. Olivia. John approached me after the chaos, looking hollow and broken. I should have listened. Yes, you should have, I said. I felt no satisfaction, just relief. Good luck with the credit fraud charges. Karen's empire crumbled in weeks. Family members cut contact entirely. Her church asked her to step down from the charity board. Her country club friends abandoned her once her schemes came to light. Last I heard, she downsized to a small apartment, her assets frozen pending investigation. As for me, that promotion I mentioned at the beginning of this story turned into a full executive position. My CEO said, "Anyone who can handle a crisis like that deserves a spot in upper management." I sold the house John and I had planned to share and bought a sleek downtown condo just for me. Amy and several cousins are regular dinner guests now. Our bonds have grown stronger without Karen's toxicity. Sometimes healing means burning bridges and building new ones. The divorce papers came through last week. John tried one last time. "We could start over," he texted. I left him on read. Instead, I took myself to Hawaii. The ocean view from my hotel room is stunning, and the Mai Tai I'm sipping tastes like freedom. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about breaking free and thriving on your own terms. After all, family is everything, right, Karen? What would you have done if you were John? Would you stand by a manipulative parent who opened credit cards in your name and drained your savings? Or support a spouse who uncovered the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about family loyalty versus protecting yourself from toxic manipulation. Would you ever give someone like Karen a second chance? If you enjoyed this story of financial manipulation and sweet revenge, consider subscribing for more real-life drama and satisfying karma. Don't forget to hit that like button and turn on notifications so you never miss an installment of Family Karma Served Cold. Hi, I'm Jessica. What I'm about to share still makes my blood boil, even months later. It should have been the happiest day of my life, welcoming my beautiful son into the world. Instead, my sister-in-law, Sarah, turned it into a nightmare so surreal it ended with her in handcuffs. Let me start at the beginning. My husband, Mike, and I have been trying for a baby for 2 long years when we finally got the news we've been praying for. I was pregnant. Overcome with joy, we announced it at a family dinner. The moment felt magical until my brother James and his wife, Sarah, shared that they too were expecting. She was 2 months behind me. At first, it seemed perfect. 2 cousins growing up together, sharing milestones. How wonderful, my mother-in-law Linda gushed. Both my babies having babies. She cried happy tears, embracing us and dreaming up joint baby showers and matching nurseries. But the harmony didn't last. It started with small, cutting comments during the prenatal yoga classes Sarah and I attended together. "I just know I'm having a boy," she'd say. "The family needs a male here. Or, it's probably best if you have a girl first, Jessica. You know, to take the pressure off." When my 20-week scan revealed we were having a boy, Sarah's mask slipped. She stopped attending yoga, blocked me on social media, and whispered to family members that I was rubbing my pregnancy in her face. "Just ignore her," Mike said, massaging my shoulders. "She's probably just hormonal." James tried to smooth things over. "Sarah's nervous about her scan next week. You know how she gets when she's stressed." But her behavior only escalated. At my baby shower, she hijacked the moment by dramatically announcing her pregnancy was high risk, it wasn't, and dissolving into tears. Everyone rushed to comfort her. Later, she tried convincing Linda to return the gifts she'd bought for my son, arguing, "We should wait to see what I'm having first." The breaking point came on the day I went into labor. Mike and I had just checked into the maternity ward when Sarah showed up, claiming she was there for a routine checkup. Before we could question her, she followed us into the labor room as I changed into a gown. Her voice was cold, venomous. "You don't deserve this," she hissed. "You got pregnant first just to steal my moment, and with a boy, no less." Before Mike could react, Sarah shoved me hard. I stumbled backward, crashing into a full-length mirror. The glass shattered, shards raining down as a sharp pain seared through my back. The last thing I saw before the nurses rushed in was Sarah's face, not regretful, but smug, satisfied. That shove didn't just break a mirror, it shattered any chance of us ever being family again. But Sarah was about to learn that karma hits back harder than any shove she could deliver. The next few hours were chaos. Glass fragments had cut into my back and arms. But the real danger was to my baby. The doctors were on high alert, monitoring for signs of placental abruption. Their tense faces hovered over me as they checked the fetal heartbeat monitor again and again. She just tripped. Sarah's voice screeched from the hallway where security was restraining her. I tried to catch her. Jessica's always been clumsy. Tell them, James. Mike's voice thundered over hers. There are witnesses. The whole thing is on camera. You could have killed our son. The maternity ward was a whirlwind of activity. Nurses rushing between rooms, security guards stationed at my door, Linda's anguished cries echoing down the hall. How could you, Sarah? How could you? Detective Chin, a calm and kind police officer, arrived to take my statement between contractions. Take your time, Mrs. Martinez, he said gently. We have security footage and multiple witnesses who saw Mrs. Williams follow you into the room. I want to press charges, I managed to say through gritted teeth as another contraction hit. Mike squeezed my hand, his face a mix of worry and fury. Moments later, James appeared in the doorway, pale and shaken. Jessica, I'm so sorry, he murmured. But sorry wasn't enough. Sarah's actions had changed everything. I had no idea Sarah was capable of such cruelty. She's telling everyone it was an accident, but I've seen the footage. I don't even recognize the person she's become. The hours following the incident were a blur. The stress had complicated my labor, and the doctors were discussing the possibility of an emergency C-section. Through it all, Sarah's dramatic sobs echoed from somewhere in the hospital. She was telling anyone who would listen that she was the real victim, insisting the stress might harm her baby. After what felt like an eternity, my son finally arrived, perfect and healthy, despite everything. But even this pure, joyous moment was overshadowed. Instead of peaceful bonding, our first hours as a family were interrupted by hospital administrators documenting my injuries. Police officers taking statements and family members coming in and out, teary-eyed and distraught. The district attorney will definitely want to pursue this, Detective Chen informed us as I nursed my newborn. Assault on a pregnant woman is a serious offense. Given the security footage and witness statements, Mrs. Williams is looking at significant charges. By then, Sarah had been removed from the hospital, but her flying monkeys were already at work. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from distant relatives. Family should forgive family. Think of Sarah's baby. You're being dramatic. Mike finally snatched the phone from my hands, his jaw tight with anger. The only people you need to focus on are yourself and our son, he said firmly. Let the police handle Sarah. As I cradled my beautiful baby boy, watching him sleep peacefully despite the chaos around us, I made a vow. Sarah hadn't just attacked me, she'd risked my child's life. No amount of family pressure or crocodile tears would make me back down. She was about to learn that some bridges, once burned, light the way to justice. A week after bringing our son home, Mike and I sat in the hospital administrator's office, watching the security footage. The video left no room for Sarah's claims of an accident. Multiple camera angles showed her following us, pacing outside our room, and then deliberately shoving me into the mirror. When nurses rushed in, she even tried to block the door. The hospital is filing separate charges, the administrator informed us. This kind of violence in our maternity ward is unacceptable. We've also had 3 nurses come forward about Mrs. Williams' aggressive behavior during her prenatal visits. As the truth unraveled, more stories emerged. Cousin Linda revealed that Sarah had destroyed her wedding dress years ago after discovering they'd chosen the same designer. Mike's sister, Emma, admitted Sarah had once pushed her at a family pool party, claiming Emma had slipped. Even Linda, my mother-in-law, finally confessed to witnessing Sarah deliberately trip a coworker at last year's Christmas party out of jealousy. We all kept quiet to keep the peace. Linda sobbed, guilt-stricken. I enabled her by staying silent. I'm so sorry, Jessica. The pressure to drop charges was relentless. Daily calls from family members urged us to forgive. Think of the baby shower we planned, they said. James is heartbroken. She's pregnant. You can't send her to jail. Then came the so-called family dinner, organized by Linda to heal. The tension was palpable, with everyone walking on eggshells, until Sarah arrived, her tone dripping with venom. I've apologized, she sneered. Jessica's just jealous because my baby shower will be bigger. She's using this accident to turn everyone against me, And now my baby might have complications from all this stress. The room fell silent. Finally, James spoke. Sarah, stop. His voice was low but steady. I've seen the footage. You followed her. You pushed her. You smiled about it. You're taking her side? After everything I've done for this family? Sarah shrieked, her mask slipping entirely. In a sudden fit of rage, she grabbed Linda's prized crystal vase, a cherished family heirloom, and hurled it at the wall near my head. Gasps filled the room as shards rained down. Then she started grabbing anything within reach, throwing it with wild abandon. I deserve that baby boy, she screamed. She stole everything. My moment, my son, my family. James intercepted her just as she reached for a heavy photo frame, grabbing her wrist. His expression was a mix of heartbreak and clarity. Security cameras don't lie, Sarah, he said quietly. Neither does this meltdown. I want a divorce. Sarah's scream echoed through the house as family members led her away, her protests and sobs fading into the distance. James stayed behind, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I should have seen it sooner, Jessica, he said, his voice heavy with regret. The signs were all there. I just didn't want to believe the person I married could be so cruel. The aftermath was devastating. Broken crystal, shattered photos, fractured relationships. It was a mess, both literally and figuratively. But in that moment, I realized something important. Sometimes it takes a complete breakdown for the truth to break through. 3 months later, as my son reached another milestone, the court date arrived. Sarah showed up playing the perfect victim, dressed modestly, cradling her baby bump, and shedding well-timed tears. But her performance crumbled under the weight of evidence. Security footage, witness statements, hospital records, and photos of my injuries. The defendant showed premeditation by following the victim, the prosecutor stated. She deliberately assaulted a woman in active labor, showing complete disregard for 2 lives. But the legal consequences were only the beginning. In our tight-knit community, news spread fast. Sarah's carefully curated image of the perfect wife and expectant mother crumbled almost overnight. Her interior design clients quietly dropped her, unwilling to let someone so volatile into their homes. Her sponsors for her mommy blogger persona pulled out, and her once flawless social media empire imploded as the truth surfaced. James wasted no time filing for divorce. Despite Sarah's tearful manipulation attempts, he remained resolute. I'm not letting my child grow up thinking this behavior is normal, he told me one afternoon, watching my son cooing on his baby mat. I'll co-parent with her, but that's it. Linda transformed our old playroom into a nursery, helping care for my son while I recovered. One evening, as she rocked him to sleep, she whispered, I should have protected you better, but I promise both my grandbabies will grow up in a healthier environment now. Meanwhile, my brother moved back in with Mom temporarily, starting therapy to process everything. It was during one of these sessions that Sarah's family finally admitted she'd had similar incidents growing up. Aggressive outbursts and manipulative tactics they dismissed as a strong personality. They took over managing her prenatal care and kept her away from our side of the family entirely. The experience changed us all. Mike and I reinforced our boundaries, choosing carefully who we allowed into our son's life. James dedicated himself to single fatherhood, determined to break the cycle of toxicity. Linda, once the family peacemaker, found her voice and stopped tolerating bad behavior in the name of harmony. 6 months after the incident, we celebrated my son's first Christmas. Our family circle was smaller now, but it felt stronger than ever. As I looked around the room, I felt a deep sense of peace. My baby boy was thriving, surrounded by people who genuinely loved him. James was healing, preparing to co-parent with clear boundaries. Even Linda seemed lighter, no longer walking on eggshells to maintain false peace. Sarah's actions, intended to shatter us, had instead revealed the cracks that needed mending. They forced us to rebuild on stronger foundations. As I watched my son giggle in his uncle's arms, I knew we'd made the right choices. Some might call it karma, but to me it was justice, letting natural consequences unfold while focusing on healing and growth. Sometimes a happy ending isn't about revenge. It's about rebuilding, setting boundaries, and choosing peace over toxic relationships. My son will grow up knowing that love doesn't hurt. Family isn't about power plays, and it's okay, even necessary, to walk away from people who try to dim your light. Your turn. What would you do if you discovered your sister-in-law had been sabotaging other family members for years, not just you? Sarah's behavior wasn't new. She had hurt multiple people, from destroying Linda's wedding dress to pushing Emma at the pool. Yet everyone stayed quiet to keep the peace. Do you think the family was partly responsible for enabling her by staying silent? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Amy. 3 years ago, I married James Peterson, convinced I found my happily ever after. He was charming, successful, and seemed to put our relationship first. Sure, he had an ex-wife, Amanda, but that's normal at our age, right? What wasn't normal was how his friends still treated her like a permanent member of the group. Babe, they were friends with her first, James would say whenever I brought it up. I tried to be understanding. Really, I did. I even endured their monthly game nights, where Amanda would hold court, reminiscing about the good old days while I sat there feeling like a stranger. But today was supposed to be different, special. My sister Anna had just gotten engaged to Mike, the sweetest lawyer you'll ever meet. And I had my own news. I was 8 weeks pregnant. We planned a big family dinner to celebrate both milestones. Everyone was coming, my parents, Anna and Mike. Even James's parents were flying in. 3 hours before dinner, I got a text from James. Emergency at work, honey. Johnson accounts falling apart. Rain check. I stared at my phone in disbelief as Anna helped me set the table. He's bailing today. Of all days? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Anna paused, her engagement ring catching a light. She grabbed my phone. Something's not right, Amy. I tried calling James, but it went straight to voicemail. I sent more texts. Nothing. Then Mike walked in, his expression uneasy. You need to see this, he said, pulling out his phone. There it was, a fresh Instagram post from Tommy, James's best friend. The photo showed my husband at Litig Bistro, our special date night spot, with his arm around Amanda. The caption, celebrating Amanda's birthday. Anna's eyes narrowed, her fists clenched. I'm going to kill him, she hissed. Mike placed a calming hand on her shoulder. No, we're going to be smart about this, he said, his lawyer instincts kicking in. Document everything. Screenshots, timestamps, witnesses. Emmy, how much do you know about your joint accounts? The room spun. All those work emergencies James had over the past year replayed in my mind like a highlight reel of red flags. Anna pulled me into a tight hug. Change of plans, she said firmly. We're still having dinner, but now it's a strategy session. Nobody messes with my sister. My phone buzzed again. Another Instagram notification. This time, Amanda had posted, best birthday ever with my forever friend. Some people just get you. James's smile in the photo was the same one he wore at our wedding. I stood up straighter, one hand on my still flat stomach. You know what? I said. Anna's right. Let's have dinner. I'm done being the understanding wife. If James wants to play games, he's about to learn I'm not the pushover he thinks I am. Mike nodded approvingly. And you've got the best legal mind in the city on your side. Pro bono. For the first time all day, I felt a flicker of strength. James had chosen his ex-wife's birthday over our family celebration. Fine, but choices have consequences. The family dinner transformed into a war council. Anna and Mike stayed late, helping me piece together a timeline of James's work emergencies. A disturbing pattern emerged. Every one of his absences coincided with social media posts from Amanda's inner circle. Start with the phone records, Mike suggested, handing me a glass of water instead of the wine I desperately wanted. As your lawyer, I advise full documentation. I logged into our phone carrier account, something I hadn't done in months. The evidence hit me like a punch to the gut. Hundreds of texts and calls to Amanda, some lasting hours, most during his supposed late nights at the office. I need air, I muttered, stepping onto the balcony. As I leaned on the railing, I spotted Tom, one of James's coworkers, pacing in the parking lot below. He looked up, caught sight of me, and gestured urgently. I'll go with you, Anna insisted, but I waved Anna off. I needed to handle this myself. Tom, James's most reliable and morally upright friend, was pacing nervously in the parking lot. Amy, I can't keep quiet anymore, Tom blurted as soon as I reached him. His hands trembled as he pulled out his phone. James has been moving money around. He asked me to help him hide some transfers from you, said it was for a surprise anniversary gift. But I saw the accounts today. He's been funneling money to Amanda for months. My legs wobbled as I leaned against the railing. How much? Almost $40,000, Tom confessed. She's trying to start a business, and James is secretly backing it. Back upstairs, I showed Mike the evidence. His expression darkened as he scrolled through Tom's phone. This changes everything, Mike said, his tone icy. He's misappropriating marital assets. Emmy, I hate to ask, but document everything, I interrupted, my voice firmer than I expected. Every lie, every dollar, every betrayal. As if on cue, James walked in, a casual smile plastered on his face. Oh, still having family time, he quipped, but his eyes darted nervously to Mike and Anna. Sorry about earlier, honey. The Johnson account was at Leated Bistro. I finished coldly. Funny, it looked more like Amanda's birthday party. James's face darkened. You're spying on me now. This is exactly why I needed space. You're so clingy, so desperate to control everything. And Amanda understands, I shot back. How to spend $40,000 of our money. The color drained from his face, only to be replaced by a furious red. You've been going through my private accounts? That's illegal. He turned to Mike. You're a lawyer. Tell her she can't. Community property state. Mike cut in coolly. Joint accounts. Want to try again. James shifted tactics, his voice softening. Baby, you're overreacting. Amanda needed help with her dream, and I. What about my dreams, James? I snapped. What about our family? My hand instinctively moved to my stomach, but I stopped short. He didn't deserve to know. Not anymore. If you paid more attention to me instead of obsessing over Amanda. Anna stepped forward, but I held up a hand. No, let him finish. I want to hear exactly how this is my fault. James sputtered, his anger dissolving into frustration. Finally, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Seconds later, my phone buzzed with a text. You're making a big mistake. I can explain everything. Forward that to me, Mike said quietly. He glanced up at me. Amy, tomorrow we go nuclear. The next morning, Mike's law office became our war room. Anna brought coffee while I forwarded every email, text, and bank statement I could find. The deeper we dug, the worse it got. James didn't just funnel $40,000, Mike said grimly, scrolling through bank records. He's drained almost $90,000 from your joint savings account, small transfers to different LLCs. But they all trace back to Amanda's new business venture. My phone buzzed again, this time from an unknown number. Amy, this is David, Amanda's husband. We need to talk. 20 minutes later, David sat across from us, his face pale and drawn. I found the business plans on Amanda's laptop, he admitted. She's opening a chain of boutique fitness studios, with James as her silent partner. They've been planning this for over a year. Did you know about their relationship? I asked quietly. David hesitated. I suspected something. But what I didn't know was that they're planning to announce their partnership at the Children's Hospital Charity Gala next week. Amanda's on the planning committee. James is bringing his business partners to secure more funding. Anna leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. The same partners who don't know he's been diverting personal funds. Exactly. David's smile was thin and sharp. I have tickets, so does half of corporate Atlanta. Mike's fingers flew across his keyboard. Amy, how would you feel about making a presentation of your own? The gala was everything you'd expect. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, and enough diamonds to rival a jewelry store. I spotted James immediately, charming his business partners with Amanda glued to his side. Ready? Anna whispered, squeezing my hand. I nodded and glanced at David, who was stationed at the audiovisual booth. As Amanda took the stage, he gave me a thumbs up. Thank you all for coming tonight, Amanda gushed, her smile dazzling. I'm especially excited to announce a new business venture that will revolutionize the fitness industry in Atlanta, with the backing of an amazing investor. The screen behind her flickered. Instead of her glossy presentation, bank statements, text messages, and photos of secret meetings filled the screen. Every bit of evidence meticulously documented. What is this? One of James's partners demanded, standing abruptly. James, isn't that your company's investment account? James lunged for the podium, panic etched on his face. This is a mistake. No, I said, stepping forward and speaking clearly into a microphone. The mistake was stealing from our marriage to fund your affair. The room erupted. Amanda's face crumpled as her mascara streaked down her cheeks. James's business partners huddled together. Phones were out, faces furious, and through it all, the evidence continued scrolling on the screen. Mrs. Peterson, James's senior partner, approached me, his expression grim but professional. "We'd like to discuss this further, privately, of course." I smiled calmly. My lawyer has all the documentation ready. As security escorted James and Amanda out, Anna pulled me into a tight hug. "You did it." The aftermath of the gala was swift and spectacular. By the next morning, James's partners called an emergency board meeting. By noon, he was suspended, pending investigation. By evening, his company shares were frozen. "The divorce papers are ready," Mike said a few days later, sliding a stack of documents across his desk. "And given the evidence of financial misconduct, we're in a strong position." "What about Amanda?" Anna asked, handing me my now regular ginger tea for morning sickness. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a news notification. Amanda's fitness studio investors had pulled out. David had filed for divorce, and her society friends were quickly distancing themselves. Her Instagram, once a carefully curated gallery of her life, had vanished, replaced by frantic private messages begging for understanding. Later, James's voice message played. "Amy, please. We can work this out. I'll pay back every cent. I'll get therapy. Don't do this to us." I deleted it without hesitation. Instead, I opened my family group chat. "Dinner at my place tonight. I have news to share, properly this time." The dining room felt different now. No more photos of James and me. No souvenirs from our trips. Just fresh flowers, soft lighting, and the warm sounds of my family arriving. 3 months later, the divorce was final. James' reputation was in ruins. No company would touch him after the financial scandal. He ended up taking a low-level job in another state. Amanda's studios never opened, and her divorce left her with nothing but regrets. As for me, I'm sitting in my new nursery, the walls painted a soft yellow, my choice, not James's. Anna is fussing over my baby bump, already planning to spoil her future niece or nephew. My real estate business is thriving, partly thanks to James's former partners who now prefer working with me. And James and Amanda. They tried dating officially, but it lasted only 2 weeks before they turned on each other, blaming one another for their downfall. It turns out their perfect understanding couldn't survive reality. I stopped thinking about them. I'm too busy being happy. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. It's living your best life while karma does its work. What would you do if you discovered your spouse spent $90,000 of your joint savings to fund their ex's business? Would you expose them publicly like Amy or handle it quietly? If you enjoyed Amy's journey from betrayal to triumph, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama and revenge stories. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting better.